Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now this week it looks like Imagineer's kind of throwing us for the loop. I expected it the first week in November with the introduction of the anime versions of Metabee and Rokusho, that we might be seeing a lot of stuff really amping up towards Medarot Day. And while I'm not 100% wrong, it looks like they're trickle-truthing us a bunch of really feisty-looking bots through these last couple weeks. Last week, we had the introduction of Charles de Nurse as the new and newest and latest of the Nurse-type series. This week in particular, they're trickle-truthing us a brand new model of the Saber Tiger series, also very iconic to that of the anime, likely tying in to celebrate the final episode that is airing here pretty soon, to celebrate leading up to the official anniversary itself, officially 1 week from today. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced for this week, and it is going to be another relatively light week, which is very, very good, as it does give us an opportunity to recoup some resources some more, and still collect on and stockpile with extra chances at ruby shards and rubies all the same, leading up to very likely what's going to be a very explosive anniversary going next week. But of course, with that aside, starting with the Gacha Banner for this week, there are only two new ones that are joining us. Well, one new one rerun that are rejoining us this week. The first of which is the brand new model, the knightly-looking Saber Tiger type, STG-04 Vitalis, with a kit of Head Trap, Hypercharge Blade, Clock Rage, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Soaring. Now, not only is this a rather knightly-looking appearance instead of a bestial or feral barbarian type or saber tiger type, based on whichever model you're looking at, I really like the regality that this design exudes. A lot more of an air of royalty and knightly duty and chivalry, so to speak, than the blood rage that the previous saber tiger types had with their appearance. Not docking them in any means. But C. Vitalis also is the first instance of Clock Rage on a non-collab model, the first of which being the Tira Megatron from the Transformers collab, so it is going to be a rather nasty-looking kit, but still holding relatively true to what his predecessors did hold prior to him. In addition to the release of him, we also see a rerun of the popular upgrade to Smilodon, STG-01 Excise, with a kit of Shoot Trap, Charge Claw, Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Climber. Now, Excise is also the only model in the STG series that is capable of meta-changing, and in this form he exchanges his kit out for Melee Trap, Charge Blade, Pile, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Land Cruiser, making him a very versatile melee-oriented foe, no matter what type of field that he's fighting on, with excellent terrain mastery on a field terrain or even mountain terrain, depending on which one he's fighting on. Now, of course, with the introduction of these two and rerun of Excise, of course, we are also going to mention that Metabee and Rokusho A will be sticking around yet another week, and as a reminder, we'll be sticking around until roughly December 7th or so. So roughly at the beginning of next month, essentially, is when they will be officially going away. So if C. Vitalis or even Charles de Nurse from last week don't quite tickle your interest, that's 100% fine. Just keep shooting for Metabee or Rokusho A. Maybe go after one or both of these, depending on if you have any rubies left over. With the Fierce Battles we have this week, again kind of leading up to Medarot Day with the anniversary and kind of holding to a routine and pattern they've had in previous years. This week's Fierce Battles are going to be highlighting the Garage Band girls from Medarot Girls Mission. Starting that lineup, we have GBG-01 Fret Beat, the guitarist type, with a kit of Fight Boost, Beam Sword, Fire, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Generator. Behind her, we have GBD-01 Blast Beat, the drummer of the set, with a kit of Guard Boost, Double Break Hammer, Tank Legs, and the leg ability of Barrier. Next up, GBK01 Melody Beat, the keyboardist of the series, with a kit of Super Repair, Wave, Missile, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of All-Rounder. And last but not least, GBB01 Slap Beat, the bassist type of the series, with a kit of Shoot Boost, Beam, Thundershot, Flight Legs, and the leg ability of Radiator. So honestly, between all four of these models, you really can't ever go wrong with one or the other based on which one you choose to farm for or collect. Granted, it is always worth holding on to all four of them just for the sake of having them on hand, because there are a lot of very useful and diverse parts to be had, especially for female models, which tend to kind of have a lack of really good or versatile parts, depending on what's available to you or how early or how seasoned you are as a Medarot. But with that being said, I still would have to give MVP of the week to Fretbeat, primarily on the grounds of Beam Sword in this case, because it is an exceptionally powerful attack, especially if you pair it off with full charge, such as, say, from Deer Stage or Night Queen in particular. You can really start cooking with some bonus damage on that, at triple damage and pierce damage on top of that when fully capped at rank 5. The other girls still have something very handy up their sleeves one way or another. Blast Beat for Break Hammer is very good for heavy punish, even if she is packing the weight herself. Melody Beat for Super Repair or Multi-Legs with All-Arounder is also very nice as well. Or Slap Beat with Thundershot or Flight Legs is also very handy too. But that being said, again, if you are a newcomer or a rookie, it never hurts to collect all four of these just for having them on hand. But if you are a seasoned vet or have been around for a little while now, I'd say Fretbeat would probably be the big one you want to shoot for and farm for compared to most anyone else of the batch. Now, in terms of event stuff this week, like I said, it is going to be a relatively light week as well, so I do have my fingers crossed that the anniversary is going to sport some really big news and a big event. Likely, again, as a reminder that they will be having the Meta Girls officially joining Producer-san for next week's episode to highlight a lot of news and the winners of this current Ori Meta contest. But I will get to that in just a moment. But in terms of events and such going on this week, again, relatively light. We will be having special daily missions and a limited daily dungeon, starring our very own rich kid Kuji. Of course, this will be the very same as it has been for Karen as with this previous week, where essentially you go in with the daily missions, just a couple extra things based on what you're already used to doing, participate in PvP, change a color chip, fight a certain number of times. You know the drill, really easy, and you can earn a lot of extra ruby shards or images in the image gacha all the same while you're completing those goals. The daily dungeon, same case, just another opportunity for some extra ruby shards as a way to hold on and stockpile them as your emergency ruby stash if you do find yourself in need of them. Now, this isn't the only thing that our rich boy friend Kuji is going to be bringing to the mix, as we are also seeing a very interesting introduction of another limited super invasion, also starring Kuji and the STG series. Now, a word of warning with this in particular, because I did notice this with the Karen super invasion last week. These are limited time, and will be going away on roughly December 7th, roughly about the same time that the anime versions of Metsubi and Rokusho are also disappearing. So do make sure you complete these sooner than later so you don't miss out on them, with the nameplate and the rubies and the cyplasm that they do offer to you. The multipliers and those modifiers really weren't all that terrible in terms of what I saw just with Charles DeNurse and Karen last week, so I don't anticipate these are going to be roughly all that difficult either, highlighting something a little easier that pretty much anybody can handle if they have a fair share of raised parts and a good head with strategy on their shoulders. But again, as a reminder, this one and the Karen Super Invasion from last week are limited time. Complete them at your convenience before they do go away so you can capture those rewards. Now, in terms of community stuff, we are still always looking for translators to assist us with any translation endeavors. Right now, Medarot 3 is still at a tentative 100% and fully completed going forward, which is very nice. All that's really left is just some general grammar checks and overall spelling, just to make sure everything's behaving and looking as it should, aside from some basic menus such as the link and the trade menus, of course, which really shouldn't be all that terrible, but really aren't necessary for gameplay if you are looking for a title to check out. We would love to start working on titles such as 4 and 5 and Navi and so on, but we do lack the manpower and the hands to do so. That being said, if you are knowledgeable in coding or cleaning or Japanese and have some time on your hands, or know someone that does, we would absolutely love to hear from you and try to coordinate making something happen. So join us in our Discord or reach out to me and ask around. I can get you in touch, or we can get you in touch with the right people to fill you in on what has been done and what still needs done up to this point. One other thing to note, by the way, in terms of well, actually two things to note. It was also mentioned in this morning's episode that's from Producer San that they are looking into revamping traps from setup-based skills, such as shoot trap, melee trap, head trap, and so on. So very likely they are going to be much more aggressive and punishing going forward come this week's update and the introduction of Sea Vitalis. But that is relatively tentative. Don't take it as official law just yet, just as something that is coming down the pike sooner than later, as a way to help kind of bring traps back into the official meta as something that can be used for passive aggression. In addition to this, in terms of other community stuff, the official Project Rising Beetle Ori Meta contest ends today. In approximately, at time of recording, in about 9 hours or so, it's about midnight here on the East Coast, it will be officially closing. So if you have any entries to submit, now or never is your crunch time. So I would love to see a final push for all those entries and creativity you guys have, so that I can take next week's episode and look over them, or even just dedicate a whole episode to looking at a whole bunch of entries. So this is your last shot, guys. It's crunch time. Knock my socks off. This is your time to shine. And just as a final reminder to that as well. Now, in terms of weekly art highlights here on the MNN, as always, I have been highlighting a lot of different Ori metas leading up to Medarot Day, and this week is most certainly no exception either. Highlighting this piece here by Twitter user NFRP11, highlighting a very unique style on the electrical calico cat kind of design. And I really, really like the simplicity, but also the creativity of the very unique shapes leading up across its body. It's a very easy-looking design, nothing overly complex, or like really heavy armor, or really intricately detailed designs or decals on the body, aside from a couple places. But I really like that for that very reason. And honestly, a lot of the simple designs tend to shine the brightest as well, because they're letting the design itself and what it brings to the table speak more than the aesthetic that it brings as well. So wonderful work to this design and the creator as well. And this one here by Twitter user AFO Jockstrips, who decided to make a rather unique Ori meta here, highlighting a very popular fairy tale with their design of Schneeweiss at SWH0, a Snow White type, as obvious as you see here, with a kit design of Fairest One, Papa Gnome, Grumpy Gnome, and Princess Dress. I really like the creativity that you put into this. Not actually putting the hands on the arms, but rather like as static displays on the legs. Kind of like a holding pose for the design as well. And the gnomes as well on the shoulders. Really creative design as well, and I really like how this one came out. I am really looking forward to seeing who the runners-up and the winners are of this week's competition, but that still won't stop me from highlighting any special designs or unique designs that I do see and like leading up to next week as well. But with all this being said, I do believe that covers everything for this week's episode, so as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping by, just as you always do. If you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page, or the Metabots Forever community on there as well, that I do also manage. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below if you'd like to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any new merchandise, fan art, contests, my weekly episodes, or anything else related to our favorite fighting machines. The Discord's the first place you're going to hear it before it goes anywhere else. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsagamIKura, so if you have any questions or feedback or comments, or would love just to stop in and say hello, I leave my DMs open for that very reason. In addition, if you are a streamer, VTuber, YouTuber, or a friend of, or just a dear friend or follower looking for a commission, which is always open by the way, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Whether that means having you here on my channel as a guest host, or having me stop in on yours for a friendly chat or a friendly game, I would love to coordinate or hear from you. So definitely reach out to me in those DMs, and we can try to make something happen in the future and coordinate a collaboration. Lastly, do give these wonderful friends of mine a follow as well. My dear buddy Moen at MoenCHSci on Twitter, who runs the unofficial Medarot fan club on Twitter, and much like I do with resharing a lot of art or updates or anything like that, he does the same on their page as well. So wonderful work, and definitely follow them if you want to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action, almost straight from the source before even I get my news translated and posted. And I do have to give a highlight here to my friend King Scuman, as you see here on Discord, who reached out to me just yesterday, actually, with an overhauled and updated guide to all the Medarotters currently available in Medarot S, in all forms, NR, and super rare, and highlighting even all the collab models and what they cover. Now, I do have to admit, I have a lot of stuff on my plate when it comes to managing the Medarot News Network and anything related to the game, so I do have to admit I have kind of let a couple of the guides slide and staying up to date on them, but I really have to appreciate my buddy King Scuman here for stepping up and filling in a overhauled guide that he said he'll be taking over as well whenever we do get any new Medarotters updated. So I did include that in the official drive provided in the link below for easy access. So definitely take a look at that if you want an even more in-depth look at all the Medarotters available, what they do and what the names of their skills, or even what their passives are while they're on the field. But with all that being said, I do appreciate you all for stopping by, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.